Guys, what an incredible weekend it was for golf. And if you can't tell by now, I'm in a different setting recording my podcast because I'm filming right before I'm about to head to a class. So it's going to be kind of a shorter episode, but I still want to make one specifically with all that went on last night, yesterday afternoon. It is Monday as of me recording and most likely uploading, but I couldn't go like a few days without talking about the Masters tournament, one of the biggest golf tournaments that there is, and the first major of the golf season. If you don't know, if you're not familiar with the game of golf, there are four majors that are played throughout the entire year. We have the Masters in April, which is the first one, the PGA Championship in May. We have the US Open in June, and finally the Open Championship, which is in July. So it's spread out over the course of 4 months. The Players Championship, which happened back in March, is technically looked at as the fifth major, but it's technically not a major. Many people just like to view it as the fifth one. So there's four, but technically five, if that's confusing. I know it's kind of confusing too. But the Masters took place on Thursday, the start of the first round, and concluded on Sunday. There was 4 rounds of golf. There was drama. There was history made. There was just excitement. There were times where I thought that my heart was going to be out of my chest. So let's just recap some stuff that happened at the Masters. The first thing I would like to talk about is who everyone thought had the best chance of winning. And at the moment, I still kind of believe it now. I still think Sky Scheffler is the man to beat as of this moment. He's world number one for a reason. He finished top 10 in the Masters this year. He won the Masters last year. He's a two-time Masters champion, made the cut. I know he probably didn't have some rounds that he was proud of. I know he did kind of struggle to hit shots at times, but you can say that for just about any golfer, amateur, pro, or just the casual golf fan if you play golf at all. So it was hard not to pick Scotty to win back to back years. And he looked good. His form is still as good as it was last year. I know he hasn't won on the PGA Tour yet this season, but he does have some top 10, top 15, top 20 finishes. So he's still on par for a great season. I can he have the season that he had last year? I think we still kind of have to wait to find out some of these other tournaments before, like the PGA Championship. I think is a test to him to see if he can win and keep that consistency moving forward. But Scotty did great. Justin Rose was another player who actually finished on top of the leaderboard in round one. Round two, he kind of fell off a little bit. Round three, it was another bit of a downhill for him. I don't think he had the rounds that he envisioned in the middle compared to the start of the first round. But round four, he did make quite a bit of a comeback, and he even found himself in a playoff hole, vying for that green jacket. So Justin Rose is a golfer to look out for. And this is also his second major in a row where he finished runner up. He finished in the tie for second at last year's Open back in July, and now he finished solo second at the Masters in April. So he is making a move when it comes to these major championships. I don't believe he has won a major yet. I could be wrong. Maybe he's won at least one up until this point, but he is someone to keep an eye out on. And if he continues to play the way that he's been playing and made these major championships, there is a strong chance that he could come away with a major win in 2025, which would be huge and would be just a massive confidence booster for him. Another storyline we had was some of the better golfers missing the cut at the Masters. And I'll tell you that one golfer in particular surprised me the most, and that is live golfer Brooks Koepka. I think it's easy to forget that Brooks is arguably one of the best modern major golfers of this decade. Now I know 2020, 2025, we're halfway through the decade at this point, but Brooks has 5 major wins, and that is tied for with the golfer who I am about to talk about next, and the golfer who's which is the reason for me even recording an episode today. But Brooks has 5 major wins. He has won twice at the PGA Championship. I think he's won 3 times at the PGA Championship, and he's also won twice at the U.S. Open, I believe. So he has those major wins. He has not statistically performed well at the Masters in that time span, and this year's Masters was also kind of an indication of that by missing the cut. But Brooks is a phenomenal golfer. He's also a golfer whose size, when you look at his like build and his size, you would not expect him to have like the power or have like the athleticism that some of these other golfers might have. But Brooks is a force to be reckoned with. His last major win did come in 2023 when he won the PGA Championship. But if he can just find ways to be consistent, hit good shots, I think he does put himself in contention to winning a 6th major this year. And if history tells us anything, it's that he has performed really well at the PGA Championship. So if he can figure out how to maybe fix some of his swings, fix some putting, fix just some minor like mental mistakes and mental uh issues, he's gonna be looking at a 6th major win. If not this year, then next year for sure. But the big storyline, with the storyline that I have been waiting for the past, I don't even know how long, 2, 3 years or so, was Rory McIlroy winning the Masters to get his Grand Slam that he's been waiting 11 seasons for. And something that we forget about Rory is that he had a span of at least 2 years, maybe even 3 years, where he was the best golfer in the world. He won in 2011 the U.S. Open. Then 2012 he won the PGA Championship. 2014 he won the Open. So those were like 3 major wins in 3 years. And all he needed was the Masters for that Grand Slam. And every year it was like, can he finally do it? Can Rory win a green jacket? And from the start of 2020, I would say it has been an up and down past couple of years for him. He's been under a lot of pressure to not just win the Masters, but win a major tournament. It has been more than a decade since he last won a major, and he has come close so many times. If we remember 2022, I think 20, or maybe it was 2023. 2023, the Open, he had a lead and then kind of choked towards the end to finish 3rd place. 2024, the U.S. Open at Pinehurst #2, he had a lead going into the final round, and just 2 holes was all it took for that lead to go away and finish solo second, behind Bryson DeChambeau, who was the winner. And then 2025 Masters, he had a lead. He kind of gave up that lead right away, found himself back into contention. So it's a lot of up and down stuff for him. He's also been heavily criticized by the media for comments about Live Golf. He has been very outspoken about Live from the beginning. He has talked about trying to stay loyal to the PGA Tour and what it represents. And I think the PGA Tour kind of took advantage of him and set him up for traps. We all know about like the divorce headlines at last year's PGA Championship that came out about a week before the tournament was supposed to start. He did not do he didn't do necessarily bad, but he certainly wasn't at the top of his game either. Then what happened in June as well to go on to miss the cut at the Open in July. Last year, I think did he took some real mental damage. And what happened at Pinehurst, I obviously can't speak for him. I don't know him at all, but I think it really did break him. It broke him to be so close to another major yet again, just to have that come up short. And I don't know if he would have, I don't know how he would have handled another close call at the Masters of all places to go on to get the green jacket that he's been wanting for years, to finally get that Grand Slam, all to have that taken away just because of some missed putts. I think that would break any person's heart, but for him especially, when he's talked about wanting it, talked about if he wasn't sure he would ever be able to put on that green jacket, winning, finally winning that one tournament that solidified him as one of the greatest European golfers to ever play the game. I think a weight was lifted off of his shoulders, and you could just see on his face how happy he was, how relieved he was, and just how grateful he was to be on that podium with some of the greatest of all times, some of the greatest players to ever touch a golf club. You just saw the emotion. You saw it in his face. Having his wife and his kid there as well made it all the more special. And I believe that a lot of people were truly happy for Rory doing something that only five players had done prior before him. And we're talking about golfers with the names of Ben Hogan, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, golfers who, if they are not already in the Golf Hall of Fame already, should be. And now you add Rory to that list. It was it all came around for him. It was a closing chapter for Rory, finally putting all of that criticism to rest and being just free of the media's scrutiny, being free of the people's comments of not um rising up to the occasion when it mattered most. So I I felt very happy for him. And I'm sure if you're just even a golf fan, you felt very happy for him too. All that all that being said though, what's next for Roy? Does he have anything left to prove? Uh, I think he's answered all the questions now that the people have had, being like, can he win a Masters? Can he win another major championship? Can he come back from behind? All that stuff. He's answered those questions. He has nothing he has nothing left to prove, at least in my opinion. He's answered every single question. He's responded to every single critic. Maybe the one thing he still has to prove is going out onto U.S. soil and winning an away Ryder Cup again. That's the only thing that I can really think of. We all know 2023's Ryder Cup in Rome. The Europeans came away with a home victory on their turf. The Ryder Cup takes place every 2 years and they alternate. So 2023 was in Rome in Europe. 2025, the Ryder Cup will be here in the US at Bethpage in New York. 2027, we'll go back to Europe at a destination. I forget where it is exactly. I think it might actually be Ireland. I think it's a golf course in Ireland where the 2027 Ryder Cup will be. And then in 2029, I know it's a golf course in Minnesota. So they came out with some dates already, but they do alternate to give every team just a fair chance, which is valid. And that's the way that I think it should be. But 2021's Ryder Cup, it was mentioned in an episode of Full Swing, which you can check out on Netflix. But in the Full Swing episode in 2021, Rory did not perform well at Whistling Straits. And you could just see the heartbreak in his face too, of not being able to win on away territory. But to be fair to him, I don't think any of the Europeans really played well at Whistling Straits. It wasn't just him. The team also kind of failed to come up clutch. You could also say the same thing for the US team in 2023. The Europeans absolutely dominated. They had a game plan. They knew which players to send out for the specific days, and it worked. They also had two very young players who were rookies on their team, and Ludwig Aberg and Nikolai Hostgaard. And those rookies stepped up when it mattered. They made a name for themselves, and now they're finding themselves within contention of some of these bigger PGA tournaments. So we'll see 2025's Ryder Cup and Bethpage if Rory can just kind of be that leader that Europe needs him to be, put aside what happened in 2021, focus on 2025 and winning on US soil. That might be the only box he has left to prove for me. But maybe he doesn't need to prove anything to anyone else, which is honestly so fair. But one more thing before I wrap up here. Now that Rory has finally answered the people's doubts and the people's criticism, which golfer is under the most pressure now to win? For the longest time, for the last, I would say, 10 years at this point, it was Rory. But which golfer is under the most pressure to win now? And I have a few answers here. I'm going to make them very brief. I think the number one player right now is Jordan Spieth. He has a target on his back. He is only one major tournament away from to win to complete his own Grand Slam, and that is at the PGA Championship in May. If he wins the PGA Championship, he will join the list of Rory, Tiger, Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player, Ben Hogan, and Jane. And he's quite young. He's only in his early 30s. I know Rory is 35, so he has a few years ahead of Jordan. But being able to complete the Grand Slam in your early 30s, I don't know if anyone else has done that. I'd have to go and look at like history and stuff to see and fact check myself. But Jordan Spieth is coming into the tournament with a target on his back. He did make the cut at the Masters. He did finish kind of towards more the bottom of the leaderboard when it came to the third and the fourth rounds. But he last won his major. He last won a major in 2018, 2017, I think. So he has gone quite a while without winning. He's definitely under the most pressure now to win. I would also put Brooks Koepka in that category. Brooks was Brooks was on top of the world for 2 years consistently between 2020, maybe even go back like 2018 to 2020, 2021, and not having won a major championship since moving over to live. I guess that's not true. I guess he did win in 2023 the PGA Championship, but if Brooks can win more majors again, I think he does. That does come with some pressure. I think he should be under pressure to win again when we've seen what he's capable of. And then finally, my last player, who I have kind of as like a sleeper pick, who I still think is under pressure to win the most, would be Hideki Matsuyama. Hideki did win a Masters in 2021. becoming the first Japanese golfer to ever win the Masters. And ever since then, we have never seen his name like on top of the leaderboard when it comes to major tournaments. He has won on the PGA Tour before. We do have to give credit where credit is due there, but I know what Hideki is capable of. I have seen Hideki play golf. When he is on his game, when he is playing his best golf, he is the top five golfers on that golf course. He has the talent, he has the range, he has the ability to make major, like, to go out and grab major wins, but it just doesn't feel like enough. So Hideki, and he's been a tour player for quite some time. It's not like he's a rookie or an amateur. To be fair, he is not quite as skilled, if that's the right word to use for it. I don't want to make it sound like he's a terrible golfer because he most certainly is not. But I don't think he has some of the skill levels as other golfers do. Just like these other golfers don't have the same skills like Hideki does. And there's nothing wrong with that. Every golfer needs to do what is best for them, and what's best for their mentality, what's best for their game. So take that as you may. But with that, guys, I think we're going to conclude this episode of the podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for letting me geek out a little bit about the Masters. It was just a fast recap. I didn't go into too much depth as I was hoping for. Maybe we'll make that the next podcast episode where I talk a little bit more in depth about just how significant this year's Masters was. And maybe we'll do a video about the four majors of the golf season. Talk about past winners, past records, all that fun stuff. We can give a little bit of a history lesson, if you will. But I'll catch you guys on the next one, and I'll see you real soon.